All right, there's two methods you can use when you're starting to texture your models. You can use object-based texturing, which is going to be kind of what we've been doing with rendering out the wireframe in Photoshop or to Photoshop, and then hand painting things in Photoshop, and then bringing it back in and applying it as a texture. You can also use a new technique that's been around, but it's getting more and more kind of emphasis within the industry, is going to be procedural texturing, which is going to use just procedural textures or seamless texture patterns that are repeated over a UV map and then driven with different maps. So for instance, and then the third is to do a hybrid of this, which is what you're going to see common in things like Substance Painter, which maybe 70-80% of what you do is going to be procedural, seamless texture based, driven by maps, and then the last 20% you're going to be adding little unique features to it that you can only get with kind of hand painting. So we're going to be baking out ambient occlusion and curvature maps today to help us drive some of this information. But you don't have to necessarily use a bake. So if I click on this this model, I've got a leather material attached to it. I've got one metal attached for the handrail and the pommel down here, and then I've got another material applied for the blade. And if we open that up to just look and see what's going on under the hood, I can take my final guard mix and kind of look and see what's going on. And all I do is have a scratched metal material that's repeated several times, going over the blade. And then I have a lighter material of the same amount that's repeated a different amount of times over the blade, and I'm plugging these both into a mix shader, and then I'm just driving which one is going to be shown based on a curvature node. And this is what we're going to be doing today. So you can see this is the first darker, more shiny material. Then around the edges, this is the scratched material that's being driven by this curvature. And if you come up to your Arnold renderer tab, and you come up to render debug shading, you can come down to isolate selected, and you can see what exactly is going on. So if I click my curvature, so again, that was render debug shading isolate selected in the Arnold viewport render options. And to get to that, you just go to Arnold, click on that little square there. So then that'll allow us to look and see exactly what we're doing. You can see the white part is going to be where the less reflective lighter shade is going to be, and then the darker shade is going to be placed where the darker material is, and this is being plugged into the little mix area. So the overall effect is going to be giving me a really nice starting point that I could bake these colors out, or bake out this individual curvature map, which is what we're going to be doing along with an ambient map occlusion bake. But I just want to kind of show you the benefits of this. Is you can go in at any point, and let's say you want the texture to be higher resolution, lower resolution. I could bring this down to 8, and it's changing the texture and everything, but it's doing it on the fly, and I'm not having to go back and forth into Photoshop. The downside is it takes longer to process this information, so and then these nodes are not going to translate if you bring this into a different like Unreal. So it's always good to still know how to bake things out and work on your masks as a image file, and then bring those in and use the image files to do the same thing that this curvature node is doing by itself. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you look at this leather material here, let's see, the leather mix, we can see exactly what's going on with this as well. Here's my curvature map, right? It's kind of being driven by a range of the actual texture that's on it, but the edges are this suede material and then the darker parts are going to be this leather material, and then they're being driven in 2 stages by a convex mask, curvature mask, and then a concave one. So I'm getting kind of the little nooks and crannies, and as well as the wear where somebody would be holding the blade to get this final kind of appearance. And again, I can go in and adjust these things on the fly, so it's kind of good within Maya, but I can't export this to certain things, and then it takes longer to render this out. So we're going to be kind of getting just a basic curvature map, a basic ambient occlusion map, and texture, and bringing those both into Photoshop.